If monarchy of England was not providing protectionism for my kids while I have been doing this work, monarchy of England has failed to provide the only reason why they would be still staying on position. I'm not joking. That protocol is not going to be rolled on without protocol Excalibur. I am not joking. I have allowed monarchy to survive. I have saved them from being questioned about their reptilian origin. That's not going to be ongoing protectionism. They insist to stay there. They will be investigated on the concept of, on the DNA of reptilians. Because we cannot accept reptilians to be holding our monarchy of humanity on the planet, where human protocol is established as a principal protocol of the planet. No matter what your excuses would be, even if we say that okay, life form is life form, you can't here blame someone for it. Yeah, you can blame someone if it is an intention to hold the principal position for management of the species while not being human, which is rather absurd. Why someone would be holding position of managing the human if someone is not a human on its principal account? If anything makes sense, then our higher positions should make sense. Sitting there because of the business of real estate would make you mogul of real estate, as it is Donald Trump. That does not provide for someone permanent position on maintaining the protocol human. Excuse me. We are talking about declaring and maintaining the protocol human. It's not going to be held by reptilians. I have saved you. I'm going to return you from where I found you. That is exactly where I found you, accused for being a reptilian. That is where I'm going to return you. Monarchy of England has been declared as monarchy of reptilians, where I started my work and when I started defending them. Since they have turned their back to me and my work, my kids, and everything I do here, I'm not going to continue to provide with my work to them any protectionism. This is going to be the weight on the planet Earth now. The planet Earth will need to confront this question responsibly. It is going to be, therefore, the question that is going to weigh on the entire planet as of now, responsibly. I'm not going to accept any single responsibility about anything that's happening there whatsoever. I'm going to also accuse my father generation of socialism countries for destroying not just life of my generation, but in ambition to destroy the life of our kids. That is what I will not allow to our socialism fathers. Our socialism fathers, you lived your lavish lifestyle equally as that monarchy of England, consuming obviously our present days. Now you want to consume the time of our grandkids. Socialism, game over. Socialism, game over. You cannot be managing protocol humanity as well because you're not enough educated, or should I say biased as well, when it comes to, for example, Jesus' bloodline, where you simply appears to be have nothing to say there. If someone has nothing to say about the most significant issue of our present times, that kind of order does not have right to play as another Cinderella on our political stage next to monarchies. Now we found ourselves with two Cinderellas dancing on the field that theirs is not. That is managing the political stage of the protocol human on earth and the protocol human on earth. These are two very important aspects of our living on this earth. And two zeros are not going to do it in any promise, in any form of a promise, as long as they continue to be numbed and silent on what they should be not just talking about, but also dealing with. And if someone cannot even talk about that, someone certainly is not going to deal with it as well. And if someone cannot deal with the most important questions of our political management, then why someone would be holding the top positions of the political management? This is my question for tribunal society of socialism, former socialism countries, and monarchies, today dancing a waltz on the account of my work. And if it is even in question my own father, I'm going to say, Father, destroying the life of my generation of people should be just enough. Reaching after the life of my kids, Father, it would be too much to ask for. You old body of nothingness. You old body of silence. In other words, fathers of fraternity society, which clearly encloses the entire religion, monarchy, and tribunal societies. Can you stop throwing the concept of crime on shoulders of our youth? Tribunal societies, religions, and monarchies, can you stop throwing the notion of crime on shoulders of our youth? I'm very clear. I cannot be more clear than this. You want to continue the same? Can you stop washing out yourself from the notion of crime? Because that would be clearly the latest joke coming from your possessions, as the Disneyland was the previous one. You cannot go as a state, going destroying entire other state, destroy completely their homes and their economy, and then start accusing individuals for trafficking people. No, individuals are not trafficking people. The ones that are destroying the nations are trafficking people, because that is why they are destroying the nations to begin with. So the one to be accused for trafficking people would be directly governments, because in substance, that is what they wanted to accomplish. That is exactly and precisely what they wanted to accomplish. If we have the question of reptilians, for example, on the planet, then of course it's going to be a question of what they need in order to continue to look like humans. This is not going to be a question of individuals anymore. This is going to be the question of systems, first and foremost, of state political systems and how certain state political systems behave. Because the interface about the behavior of a larger compound of people is going to be a state. In substance, that is the state. The state is the center of responsibility. On such scale of events, the face of responsibility is state protocol. On that scale of responsibility, the responsibility center is state protocol itself. They bring decisions about distractions. They are responsible for everything that happens afterwards, because initially that is what they have done it. If they wanted some other effect, they would not go with material damage. They would launch legal investigation and legal case. But to go and do material destruction of territories, there is only one intention that will get out of it: having large amount of people walking, as in BC times, the territories as some kind of tribes, returning a planet to a tribunal stage, and everything that comes in package. Someone is deliberately in intention to return the planet to tribunal stage, so they can continue then, so they will basically return the time in the predatory altogether. With such chunk of refugees on the streets, you are returning the planet backwards. The responsibility for such situation will be directly on the states that continue to provide enormous destruction of entire nations. And we all know who are these countries today, profoundly. On first place would be America, England right there behind them, which most probably would be first England, then it's America, like a big puppy. And then, of course, the actual tribunal societies. And here, of course, the headquarters of all, Israel. Today showing its matrix of real face. Notice who are the one starting the enormous destruction of nations, creating large scale of refugee. Notice who is doing that. These nations are to accept responsibility for anything to do with the aftermath effect. Verdict for today. I have called today with me my family and my friends. That is what socialism was not teaching us. Socialism was creating individuals, but not families, not friend network. It was everything else would have been in state machinery, and if you would do any wrong step there, you would end up into shadows. You just end up in the shadows. You will need to dance by the directive of state. That kind of socialism we don't want to return. Socialism that recognizes that is speaking all the time in the name of people, but that is actually just a gray state apparatus that does not recognize family, but recognize a religion for some reasons, all of a sudden. Initially, socialism was not based on religious normative principles or ideology. Now they are with religion, but they are not with protocol family and protocol private personal network. They're not celebrating personal, what is the most important to person. They're celebrating what is most important to state. And some state instrumentariums become the moral catalyst for principal leadership of socialism, like some kind of ideals. They don't project family as ideal, socialism, but individual. You don't know would that individual has a wife, does he has a family, how he behave within the protocol. Simply, they're not projecting family as an image. Why they project is individual. That is system that is perfectly crafted for trading individuals. System that build individuals and trade individuals. Because of that, I'm going to declare socialism today dead. Because of that, I'm not going to give second chance to socialism. Socialism destroyed the life of my generation. Socialism does not get next chance to go after our kids as well. Socialism is not going to be given second chance. My verdict for today, for anyone dreaming to return the previous Yugoslavia of creaturehood. No, thank you very much. The answer is no, you are being denied. Now I will notice that socialism was started very nicely, providing a very concept of clean society. It was going on very much carefully about developing economy, driving very solidly on the concept of solid, strong middle class, delivering very strong, very solid standard value of products that you would buy in the stores, and not being strong reliance to domestic production, and gradually introducing more and more imports, as obviously the capacity for export was growing. It was very careful about how much import is going to be allowed, and most predominantly started import from China, I remember. So obviously it was affordable, and it would not be heavy for the economy, because our currency was not strong, and the reliance on the entire concept of a non-aligned country was based on building economic relationships with countries that would have similar strength of currency, so the trade would not be stressful for the nation altogether. And that was all wise. What was not wise is that they increasing that the virus of religion started to grow bigger and bigger and bigger, as actually never departed from socialism itself. Because my mother, while in socialism, still could have not find work. Although it was about emancipation of women, it was not good enough for my mother. I would recognize that also as discrimination. But and something else beyond it, and that is someone holding the Ark of Covenant as some kind of promissory note for their promotion. And that is what is eating the socialism protocol from inside, as well as any other system on the planet. The Ark of Covenant, embodied in the financial system, and basically dictating the game field, the rules of game, no matter in what kind of format you would declare yourself. If your financial system does have virus, you're going to get it. The virus is in the financial system. The virus called Ark of Covenant as a promissory note for promotion and taking positions. It is not personal accomplishment. It is not personal talent, but are you having access to Ark of Covenant? Here you say Jewishness continue to drive their ways. At that point, we will need to question the real character of Judaism. And would we not have breached here with human protocol altogether? I think that is what in substance that all is. We have breach of human protocol. That is where the Bible starts with tree of knowledge, pointing at tree of knowledge as separate tree. Excuse me, guys, we have here clear reference that we have parallel bio protocol here. And Judaism is regretfully on the other side. As a result, today West societies are where they are. And although I am eager to call my work Star Trek protocol, to the extent that it is heavily relying on Western civilization, I can't use any reference. I can't use that as a serious platform. I may point out at some kind of similar reference, but I can't give this present to Western civilization. I'm going to also notice that the entire concept of Star Trek, which appear to be very much depicted in the shape of the building of Vatican. Basically, if you say building of Vatican from Google, just Google Vatican City, and you will see the entire area of the Vatican City is in shape of space shuttle. Basically, that makes Vatican City sitting on top of space shuttle, which clearly was the inspiration for Star Trek movie, that, by the way, appear completely in some kind of American version. But notice that the body shape of Captain Kirk, which was the first captain of the entire serial of Star Trek. Notice his body shape. Well, that is also going to explain hunting of witches in all of the time. We have here two conflicting protocols, and Vatican is holding position of overtaking the identity of actual Star Trek protocol, which would be, I'm going to notice, much more closer to the movie IT and the concept of radioactivity as the real beginning of life on Earth. Where I'm going to notice the Vatican protocol would come second, as intrusion, as the one that want to take over. Here is where monarchy of England is losing its relevance, and here it is where Saudi Arabians and Muslims walking in Europe is going to lose its weight. And it is rather going to be recognized as a very dangerous situation. As I'm promoting politics on Earth, of carefully staying away from the edges, which I have politely called provinces, which is still concept of inclusiveness, and I still think that they should be rather appreciating my goodwill. I'm still here charting planetary identity as a matter of historic living on this earth, yet without playing too much of tolerance, especially to the one that have for 2 millenniums trying to make fool out of us, and still right there in front of our eyes, steal from us everything that is ours and that it is created by our energy, as it is in my marriage, my husband keeping me in financial slavery, looking me directly in my eyes and making fool out of me every single day. Saying in my eyes, you are my financial slave. I am not his financial slave. I would answer. You are my financial slave, I would answer. Because you are where you are because of me. Because of promissory note, myself. As without that promissory note, you would never be where you are, is my answer to him. And my answer to him is, this is my house, and you are the one to get out of here. Now let's talk, therefore, I would say to him, who is the slave here, and to whom, or to what, rather? Let's bring that conversation in its actual format. To the extent that Yugoslavia was heavily relying on Israel and on the affairs of Israel, as such, built for the needs of that regime, that socialism as such cannot stay, because the entire infrastructure of that socialism, relying also very much on some kind of gray services, as it is auto-colored in rosy colors, as it is James Bond, was in substance actually, as you will notice, very much destructive to the protocol family to begin with. And if you destroy a family, if you start destroying family in a society, that is already cancer. So socialism is being built out of such cancer of its entire political elites. And because of that, that vessel cannot start playing Star Trek today either. Despite all of the talents, Serbia today failed to recognize or to deliver healthy discussion on political systems. And if a nation as such cannot today rise itself above with such kind of discussion, then that nation has not managed to rise above the rest of the nations. There is no fake certificates here on these levels. On these levels, the wings cannot be fake. Although Americans, like big puppies, were assisting the entire dismissal of Yugoslavia, in substance, I'm going to notice them very much similar as Yugoslavia, especially with Fox television, very much driving on the same fake wings of the previous society, very much associated to Jewishness and to the Ark of Covenant as we speak, as their protocol. I would not find directly responsible American nation because I would find them too numb for the entire situation. But everything will need to be driven or understood as in proximity of Israel as the initial impact, and Vatican also as part of that initial impact. Basically, Vatican and Israel would be the principal defining point of this entire 2 millenniums of driving the planet in wrong direction. So I'm not going to drive this against the concept of people and people existing as a population of the planet. I'm going to continue to drive it on the levels of managing the realm, managing the population, and dealing with the issues that one should deal with on these levels. That is why I declare monarchy of England also invalid, basically out of any kind of validation point when it comes to political leadership. And if they cannot be political leadership, then what else they would be? Real estate cannot hold political positions. They can keep their real estate business. Well, I'm not England to decide on these matters, but I would say certainly not in some kind of significant manner to overtake the political influence. I mean, if I am here today very much financially weak, and I tolerate to them financial strength, I will continue to straighten position of the one that would not qualify. So I cannot give them or leave them neither political power, neither the economic power because of their ambition to be political. Because of their ambition to be political, they cannot be given economic power either. That is where we are. They will need to be taken care of. That is the outcome of that entire situation. But that order simply, for God's sake, is totally obsolete and totally dysfunctional. On the other side, as I have said, speaking of general population is speaking of population. I'm not going to drive too much close to that, but I'm going to solidly keep my perspective on the political system and managing of the political system, because everything starts from there. Everything starts from there, and on that level, we have to have complete clarity what actually we are doing on this planet. So Westlands, monarchy of England is price to pay. I have said that many times. There is a price to pay for going into the future. And then we discuss the systems. And then the next is we discuss the financial protocol, the financial systems, where sets the Ark of Covenant there. And next one to be under scrutiny, for the lack of better word, would be Israel. Israel and Roman imperialism and the concept of Ark of Covenant going in Scotland and becoming protocol masonry and driving it as a under concept of masonry and as antipode or anti-system. As anti-system. And then we have product called Donald Trump and everything that he was, complete product of Ark of Covenant, holding someone as a hostage in order to promote his own position. We cannot accept such kind of political leadership or definition of political leadership in 21st century Americans. So if we want to be therefore given promise for the future Americans, something will need to go away. And that would be Masonry and their Ark of Covenant, and monarchy as obsolete political stronghold, which would not make any sense in the present times, without delivering this level of work. This level of work not delivered, monarchy as a protocol cannot be recognized. I have said I'm not willing to drop monarchy protocol, because I think plenty of history withholds, it is being withheld there. But I'm very much against wrong people driving it. Excuse me, I have challenged the monarchy of England, and I insist on it. Westlands, in order to be admitted in our future revolution of size of new republic without Ireland being leadership as well, let's mention that aspect of some society that is closer to masonry than to where I am. Therefore, with clear accents to the fact that I am the actual leader rather than being a dead queen, Hollywood. Thank you very much. We are to talk about reforming the planet rather than talking about the next atomic war. But you will need to be clear that something will need to be dropped here. That something is, I'm going to repeat again, obsolete monarchy protocol, obsolete or rather people attending monarchy protocol that are not up to 21st century standards. Accordingly, I'm talking about the entire order being driven by the protocol Excalibur, as I have said a million times by now. That is, earn it, then you can declare the protocol. Earn it. This is political protocol, political ideology. It is what I do here. And I'm declaring it as a monarchical stamp, because it is my breed as such. But that's not breed of Queen Elizabeth II. No, it goes beyond it. It goes as far as Olymp itself. Point number 1. Point number 2. Masonry, Judaism, Ark of Covenant cannot be given principal places and leadership position. 3. Religion, Vatican, centerpiece office, cannot be given leadership position, neither can be given a religious position anymore, because it is promoting species differentiation, and here a religion simply stops. It might be useful for some kind of understanding, for some kind of a criminal investigation. But active protocol, that's over now. Religion as active protocol cannot be accepted as a form of managing humanity. Now, these are 3 vital aspects that will need to go. Monarchy as such, religion as such and tribunal societies with Judaism and Ark of Covenant embodied strongly within the system of promoting political leadership, basically as a takeover from the actual stamp. We have the element of racism, but we have something much bigger than racism, I will argue, Macedonia. Although racism at that point would not be excluded. Therefore, racism would not be excluded within the protocol of Judaism and Ark of Covenant. That is why you find Macedonia and Israel very often going together, because both of them are stepping as on trampoline over the Ark of Covenant in order to declare their positions. So their positions appear to be second-hand. And look at them getting today on the political surface on the back of Donald Trump administration and Judaism altogether, being attached automatically to Judaism, which stands for Nazism and racism. Well, I would not invite entire Africa into Europe, but you have a situation of extreme racism, as it was in my life. And that is something I will never understand, and I simply can't accept. This extreme racism in Macedonia is what I cannot find tolerable. It has been overstepped. Therefore, the fourth element would be racism out of any logic. I mean, extreme racism and extreme Nazism. And here it is, I'm having my blonde lashes, but I still need Ark of Covenant. And the answer to that would be, it's not good enough. Just not good enough. And it cannot be validated accordingly. It's a criminal case. It is a crime, for God's sake. It's a crime to step over a person like that and pretend like you are not second-hand. It is a crime. I can't see you that much incapable to take positions on the planet. Why on earth it will need to be the top one? After all, why it will need to be the top one? Macedonia. And why on earth it will need to be the top one? Yellow lashes. Why it will need to be top one? Why it's not enough to be admitted in the citizenship of Earth? Why it will need to be the top one? Same question for trumpets, for at this stage probably one will need to stop joking. Same question to masonry. Same question to anyone else. Okay, we can talk about tolerance as a species, as a population. Why on earth it will need to be the top? We cannot give random top positions to random identities on the planet. We have to keep planetary protocol respectfully to what this planet is. You can't ask for more than you have earned. Earn it, you declare it. But to earn, to walk over someone as myself, and declare me garbage on a daily basis while I continue to deliver the most substantial political guidance, that's not going to give anytime soon political prime position to anyone, rather than questioning the reasons why someone would be jumping that higher on the political leadership. Yes, questioning, of course. Set up? Yeah, it might be. Because I can see some individuals among the Jewishness today extremely ambitious to declare my work theirs, no matter what. Sitting out there with trumpets in the promissory alliance, all on the account of Ark of Covenant as we speak. And that's never going to be enough Jewish, I'm going to say to all of you. It's just not going to be enough Jewish, I'm sorry. No matter how much Jewishness of you declare today, it's simply not enough Jewish from my perspective. I would like to add, for further clarification, something here. I have been always much more fond to influence of Far East countries on our territories than of speaking Macedonia, especially here having on mind, than of Africa, for example. However, as I have also said, we have to be very careful not to allow the provinces or the edges of the planet to overstep, because we have to be on mind that we have to keep very carefully to the trajectory of how we crafted human on this earth, how human on this earth happened, and what we recognize therefore as some kind of golden standard of humanity. I wouldn't go with yellow here exactly here in reference to golden standard. So let's call it earth standard rather, which would not be equally some kind of short people, for example. And when I point out at Captain Kirk, I rather was having on mind E.T. rather than little people under the ground. Because I don't think that these people are radioactive. Radioactivity, I would assume, brings much more what we find in Hollywood, for example, and what someone continue to call Coca-Cola and to use them as disposables. I just can't understand how possibly this planet cannot notice what really is radioactive on this planet, and therefore of the actual true Earth identity. The so-called Coca-Cola people I would recognize as the actual owners of the planet, as the actual matrices, as associated to the actual matrix of this earth, and everyone else extreme and intruding and trying to steal the identity, and that is why they are devaluing it, because they want to take over identity. Take, for example, the example of David Letterman, which is a combination of Judaism and Vatican. Look how he is treating Hollywood stars, and why is that? If it is not someone's intention to say, basically, I am doing the overtake here, I'm actually the vampire here. Yeah, David Letterman is vampire versus the golden kids of this earth. Pure vampire. Pure vampire. Now, that is how important it is that we keep in perspective what really is some kind of true earth identity here. What can be really radioactivity. And I can't go too much neither with that, neither in Africa, neither that much in China, although one would argue you can find it much more in China, actually. It is more like China is still closer to be that matrix. Like 80% I would give way to China and 20% to Africa. Exactly like that. When I'm going to find myself, therefore, in Macedonia, where I'm going to notice also some third identity, some kind of Mickey Rooney protocol, a matrix that I found. I met a couple of such people in my life, and I would, they would appear as some kind of tribe, obviously. One of Macedonian tribes would have even some element of distance, eventually maybe even some extraterrestrial dimension, maybe Venus or something like that. And that is why we should be very careful who is having ambition. I think they have been holding NASA for quite some time as well, and I think that we have to be very careful now. What is going to be interface is going to control the most important factions on the planet. Elon Musk prevailing on that combo Judaism Vatican is far away from being correct answer. He would be equally like David Letterman walking on the level of some kind of vampirism of the planet. That is not exactly how we would like to see the top chair of the planet. Therefore, I'm going to go with projecting the actual identity of Earth. Closer would be actually the Coca-Cola people, let's call them, since I have noticed you really prefer the reference. I would go with Coca-Cola people being to great extent actually associated to actual planetary identity, but I would equally recognize on the back China walking there. And I'm willing to give a very high percentage of a presence or a reference of Far East countries in crafting the actual golden standard of identity on the planet, of what we then recognize as a glorious human of Earth. Well, moral and ethics walk first here. Without that kind of sainthood, you don't get Highlander. If Highlander is not saint, it's pointless to talk about him, Elon Musk. And that is that we need to genetics talk first. I understand that he wants to report some kind of Chinese descent. Yeah, but I mean, I'm not getting here exactly Mozart out of it. And if I don't get Mozart, I'm not going to be interested about it. As that is how it goes. In other words, today I declare the Mozart protocol myself. And there is no place for two Mozarts in one given time. Either Elon Musk and whoever sitting behind it. And whoever sitting behind it. There is no place for two Mozarts in one time. Let's get sober. Let's get sober. Prevalence of Africa also I'm not going to find as a correct answer. Here I am enclosing myself as a prevailing on China, Japan side. And as you can see, it's much better result, Elon Musk. And Dave Letterman. And other some little people of Israel, Dave Letterman, are winning in there for that much. A part of the status of latest edition of Empire, maybe. Competing with Romanians out there. Now let's be very careful how we unveil ourselves into new millennium. Let's do not underestimate neither this planet, neither our place on it. And let's stop overstepping. Before today, you don't stand just in your own name, but in the name of all of the species walking behind your back. And that should make you more responsible before you think of taking any leadership position. I can notice there is one confusion remaining here. I do not see what I do here as matter of actual bio-representativeness as matter of some kind of physical matrix, but as a matter of managing certain situation and certain event. Very much, therefore, employing meaningful approach to the situation, rather coaching the various cultural identities, recognizing therefore the presence of each of them on the field. I certainly have forgotten to mention South America, but I have some kind of mental information. It's hard to explain it. That there is actually a strong correlation between Far East countries and Mayas, because we talk about planetary approach, and if it is in question, for example, some extraterrestrial or even terrestrial approach, obviously it will not be that much geographically isolated. So you have actually ranges where you can see that these tribes have been moving in the times. As we have obviously these tribes of humanity, very much dispersed across the planet. And it is on us to assess the various cultural identities and to bring, which I'm going to find vital here, the exact moral and ethics of the time, the exact value standards, the exact sainthood level. In this case scenario, I'm talking about, of course, professional aspect. Today, more and more, we need to talk about professional expertise about what we do. And that is why I'm going to say again, it is stepping up from some kind of bio-reference. And I don't like also when people get too much biological about human protocol. I'm going to notice human protocol should not be understood as that much biological as animals, for example. Humans step up from being that much biological. Humans start being all sorts of barriers and delivering a message that they are not that much, that the protocol is nothing of that much biological, but it is rather mental. It is much more important for us to build our entire lifestyle with all sorts of barriers we create versus other human beings, which further create the concept of individualism as very important protocol in human. And here there is no place anymore to talk about any kind of biology. I'm going to ask you to drop that. These times should be somewhere else. I mean, these are animal level of perceptions, and it should be dropped. There is no place for such perceptions in protocol human whatsoever. Protocol human prevail much more on being clean, neat, and organized. That is why it becomes human. And we might just ask how far certain cultures have decided to step away from it, and where is the line that makes them to feel comfortable about being of their culture. But I'm not walking side of being too much physical, which, for example, I can notice in India very much still present. That is where I strongly depart from India and Buddhism, not Buddhism, but Muslim territories as well. That somehow still have that kind of culture of very much thinking or driving on relationships and investing in some kind of personal relationships or promoting personal relationships rather than professional. You don't find enough professionalism, I'm going to notice, as a protocol in Middle East or in India. And that is why I'm going to find them not exactly up to the time in which we live. I certainly prevail much more on European side in that regard. In Europe, we managed to get more sterile in the way how people in China and Japan managed to get. They happen to be more sterile. They pay very high attention to hygiene and personal kind of integrity and building personal integrity, and to quite to some kind of healthy percentage, I'm going to say, distancing from getting too much personal. And I'm going to argue that exactly that ability to build professional approach, manage to bring them on the stage of a higher development. Because the modern times and everything that means modern time, that is on everything that we today depend as a modern humans and what represent our lifestyle, depend on employing much higher organization and organizational skills. And that require stepping up and being much more professional in your approaches, and knowing where is your private, where is your house and your family and your privacy, which is sacred to you, but also it is also sacred what you do professionally, what's your job, what's your profession. And simply modern human, I'm going to find orbit today in such zones, and we should accept that as not as a correct. I can't say that is anything wrong there. I mean, there is a weekend there where you can go on out there in the nature and walk barefoot on a grass. You might just choose to eat with your hands as well, if that is what makes you or you believe you're much more in touch with food or whatever. There is a weekend, God-given, 2 days, where we can be much more nature-driven, but to the extent that we today service 7 billion of humankind, we have to be also very much organized, which means build more on the professional side and delivering higher results. Not as some kind of robotics, but as not wasting our time, not time wasters. The times where you can lay all day on the sun and be served 3 meals per day like a puppy, it's over. And I'm going to argue, human never was that much of a puppy either. So I really don't know how to what your monarchy merged. There are some Montenegrins out there very much famous in our country for being lazy. So they would like to prefer to lay all day under the sun, or rather in the shadow of the trees, and sleep most of the time during the day. And they're known as lazy people, Montenegrins. I wonder, are they not to be blamed for what became monarchy of England altogether? Profoundly, I think, a bit over-relaxed for how it's to be perceived modern human. I, on my side, never felt, I would always get nervous if I waste my time. I certainly have a bit of a good percentage of a nature that may give you an impression of a sleepy mode, as it was, for example, Greta Garbo. And I can sometimes get into that mode. But in substance, I hate wasting my time. I like when job is done, when I can do something for a day, and when I can say, okay, today I have done and solved something. It feels me much more normal, much more alive, actually, much more alive. And I think, yes, being alive is about being living person, being active person, doing things, solving problems, being there, not laying around and waiting someone else to serve you. Having servants in 21st century, unless you're really busy a woman and you need assistant, it is professional assistant rather, which I prefer always to be still personal. I like the personal note in people that assist you at home. I like that very much. You have to entrust people that are going to be around your kids in your house. They need to be kind of family people. So I can't drop that. And very often that is what holds me to my protocol monarchy, because I like to have people around me that are going to be in my life. In other civilizations, that would be rather your family. In previous lifestyle, it is your family being, because people would live in bigger houses, like a bigger household. And basically it was your family. It was always around someone around you to look, to help you, to assist you whenever you want to do something, or busy, or go at work in this case. But the moment we started going at work, it dropped the big. We started to live in separate houses, and it has become such an issue. Being a mother with a little kid, with kids, I'm fully aware how important it is to have, while insisting on professional approaches in our lifestyles, how important become question of looking after kids, and how important become question of having solid circle of people around you that will be assisting you. And that is where household become a bit bigger. And that is why I want to I want to speak of monarchy now and then, because it recalls that concept of, that notion of having more people in a house rather than being all by yourself. I find being all by yourself in a house rather somehow very often just not being right answer. Especially if you are professionally more devoted person, and you need job, and you need to do things. You need hands around you, someone to give you a hand on various aspects. And calling service and some kind of strange people around is not exactly turned to be, is not the best answer. So returning to bringing that kind of a solid circle of friends around you, I mean, I can see that as being also popular now very much. Having very strong social circle. It's a much better situation. Although it opens ground to be for various playoffs. And that is why usually being driving on the senses of being surrounded by truly reliable, closer to family level of people. Blood, as we would say in our languages, is not a water. Blood is not a water. Holding to your natural bloodlines is always going to be the healthy, I would argue, healthier approach, although it has been under attack for quite some time. The embryo of family, not only within your within the larger family, but as far as the actual family, your kids and your partner, your husband, your whatever spouse, it has become under attack. And that is what's not good here. So I'm pulling out monarchy now and then, as it is still for me some kind of ideal scenario of bringing larger circle, family circle, as actual matrix of our existence, as a actual molecule of our societies, and therefore building societies of families rather than of individuals. Although I promote professionalism and individual presence, importance of individual professional approach, family is still, I'm going to find, very, very important place it's holding. And that is, I'm going to find something much more important than are we going to eat with hands or not. The embryo of family, that we continue to lose it, is something that we should be looking at. And because of that, I will say here that monarchy protocol continue to have its relevance, yet understood today totally differently. Understood as a living in larger families, continuing to live in larger families, even in with modern lifestyle. Point number one. Point number two, when it is in question political profession, then it will get certain political assistance, but that is when you have political person, when you have actually active professionally political activity, and then you bring that kind of, basically you bring forward the profession, not the household, because household basically is tribunal. It was in previous times, that was the household of tribunal society. If you step up on a political level, then you would step up because of certain political function. In previous times, maybe it was about real estate. It was about creating nations. And it was much more physical. Today it is about conceptual political thinking. It is about ideology. It is about what I do here. It is actually about what I do here. Although I am optimist, I'm profound optimist and positivist, and I constantly keep myself in some kind of high energetic positivism and enthusiasm, and I like that feeling. It is very much what you find very much prevailing after each war. You get that feeling of positivism, and then that kind of collective ambition to be good guys and to do it all correctly, and so and so. Within some kind of over prevailing spirit, I keep myself. I prefer such a mental state. I would argue most of the people as well. I would argue that is the state in which we are actually on this planet as a natural, because it is about life and about life potency, and in substance it should be like that. You don't need, it's not about going in gym and feeling like that. It is about feeling like that for life, and it is, I'm going to say, the normal status. I'm going to say also that people in my family usually are all like that, and they look as such like happy people, like positive, optimism driven people, no matter how hard it would be for them, no matter how they have been hurt and wounded and walked over, they always pull out that kind of enormous life energy of positivism. And I like that about me and my family. But I want to say, and as much as I'm reflecting it on the planet, I want to point again that we remind ourselves that not all people are like that, and that there are certain people that continue to be very much opportunistic, very much trying to be much more in the shadows, different obviously, and clearly not liking when someone is different as well, and or trying to subconsciously probably make some harm to my kind of people and to what I do, and just for the sake of harming us, finding themselves damaging the protocol and what we do as well, and then larger community suffers. Either you would find the natural envy because of the energy we project, or it is in question something much more calculative. We have to be less naive about the people around us and about the world around us, as diversity very often would mean exactly that. And as much as my ambition is to bring this positive energy over as a planetary life, as a planetary stamp, it is far away from claiming that I have accomplished that. It's far away from there. Although it is my dedication, of course. We are not there. And that is why I'm going to call you to be very careful with whom you are, who you are going to entrust, and how far you're going to accept to be told by other people what to do in your life. Do not accept someone to blackmail you. Do not accept someone to tell you what to do. Do not accept someone to tell you that you're guilty, when the guilt today is the system itself, system that continue to recruit little kids and make them slaves and ask them to do whatever it is they are being asked to do. You should not accept someone to tell you what to do. We have here systematic problem that certain societies have become exactly that, as big as anti-America, continue to behave to be told what to do. We have huge problem on the planet, huge. And one of the reasons why I prefer to continue to stay with, I can't say prefer to stay with West. I mean, prefer to stay planetary, is because it is not about trusting people. It is about managing people. Now let's keep that in mind.